just got done watching House of the Dragons episode 3, and I'm here to talk about it in full spoilers. So if you guys haven't seen this episode yet, go watch it, come back, and let's talk about this incredible episode. Easily the best House of the Dragons episode so far out of the 3, and I'm ready to say this is probably the best Game of Thrones episode that we have gotten since season 6 of the entire show. When we look at the previous show and this one, this is incredible. I was absolutely floored from top to bottom, from the second it started to the very second it ended. And next week cannot come enough. And guys, if you guys are new here, again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because I'm going to be talking House of the Dragons every single week over here on this channel, as well as Rings of the Power, She-Hulk, Andor, and tons of other movie and TV content. So if that's not something that you're enjoying, I guarantee there's something I'm going to talk about each week that you're definitely going to want to tune in for. As well as make sure to comment down below your guys' thoughts. What were your thoughts on this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it as much as I did? Let's talk about it down below. So let's jump right into this again. I love this episode. One of the best Game of Thrones episodes in quite a while. And the thing about this episode is so much happens. So first off, the episode opens up. We see Daemon on the dragon burning these crab people up. Just absolutely hot barbecuing it up. And he's being Daemon. Exactly how we saw. And I like how really much when we look back at the first episode now of House of the Dragons and saw what he did in the Key to the Golden Capes, it really much is reminiscence to how he is, and it was a great starting point to understand what kind of character he is, because now we see him in this episode, particularly in the way that the war, they're kind of losing it in the beginning, and we'll talk about that once it flashes to that. But it's really interesting to see how Daemon is strategic and how he is. He's very brutal and outgoing and just does not care, and very Leroy Jenkins-ish. And if you don't know what Leroy Jenkins is, look it up on YouTube. It's one of the funniest videos you will ever see, specifically if you ever gamed back in like the mid-2000s. But this is some of the stuff that really was just super entertaining. And leading into that, we find out that it's been, what, a couple years since episode 2. And I didn't know how to feel about this time jump thing, to be honest with you. I was very nervous going into this season once I started to kind of get the vibe that they were going to do this, because I'm already getting attached to these characters. I'm going to be a little bit sad when next season rolls around and we're not going to be around with this. And I know that I think around the midpoint of the season, I think they've talked about it, that the actors will all shift, which makes me absolutely sad, because Millie Alcock is literally a goddess in this show with how phenomenal her performance is as the young Princess Rhaenyra. I am obsessed with this character, and I'm really nervous to see the rest of this, because of course, not just her, but also the likes of Emily Carey, who plays the young queen, is also phenomenal in this. There are so many damn great performances top to bottom in each and every one of these episodes. And when we go into this episode and really see that it's been a couple years, King Viserys got his son. You know, he's impregnated also with his second child with Emily Carey's Alicent Hightower. Daemon and, of course, the other king are off fighting this war. This has all been going on. We missed so much. But at the same time, this episode does such a great job of catching you up with each and every one of our characters, where it never felt like we missed something in that time jump, which is excellent writing, because the second as we see Viserys looking for his princess, the daughter, and of course we see her out by the tree, and Alicent, her old friend, goes out there, and pretty much they have this great dialogue back and forth. But you already see the pain in Millie Alcock, which we saw at the end of last week's episode, but it just continues from there. Like, you see the pain. She lost her best friend, and she thinks that the one thing her father actually gave her, thinks that she's going to lose that too. And throughout this episode, they have this very great back and forth with one another, specifically in that argument when they go on to the hunt, because there's not communication between them. They've been very at strand ever since the death of her mother, because he's been lost. And in some ways, you know, he's been pushed and pulled. And one of the things that really much is a big discussion in this is what is best for your future. And that is what is looked at in this entire show. And in general, Game of Thrones, it's always been about the politics. What is going to be best for your future? Who do you marry? Who do you do this? And I really love how, she's really not feeling this whole entire Lannister thing, which was great. I was really loving the Lannister aspect of this entire episode and the way that they were really able to input it. And again, see those early family bloomings in there, that is specifically, we know how that family acts. We know their kind of lies, and we also just in general know their personalities, and it really fits into the tone of the two that we met in here as well. But in general, seeing this episode very much focuses on Rhaenyra and Viserys and their relationship and how strained it is. But at the same time, how it's kind of building back together. Because throughout this episode, again, she runs off. She's tired of her father. She does not want to marry a Lannister. She does not want to marry one of these people. But also, Viserys, in the same point, is trying to do what's best for her. But also not looking at what is best for him. Because in the end of the day, he did not want to marry anyone else. He did not want to marry Hightower. We knew that. He did not want to marry this 12-year-old from the last season, this last episode, which was insane. He didn't want to do any of that. He loved his wife, but he knows what is going to be strong and put into the best of his accounts is this decision. And it's, again, heartbreaking to see that nonetheless. And I really love, again, just the writing in this and how you see that pain in his eyes in the performance. And Paddy Considine really needs to be acclaimed for this performance of how fantastic he is in this. So leading from there, we see Millie Alcock in the forest with her knight in shining armor. And for me, they have great dialogue and they have a great discussion. But again, it all leads into that boar. The hunt, the parallels between a father and his daughter. He kills the deer, or this giant stag, and she kills the boar. The parallels of that. She's walking into town, all the blood, and she saw the white one. The white stag that everyone was looking for, that her father and the other men could not find. The symbolism there. Beautiful, poetic, amazing. But it all leads into this. Because when they get back to the kingdom, again, everyone's always scheming for something. And Rhys Ifans Otto Hightower, who is, of course, the father of Alicent, pretty much, he's having this conversation that, she should not be the heir. It's the gods of everything. Women should not rule, which is complete bullshit. We know that. And as this leads in, he's pretty much using his daughter to lean the ear into the king. And the king is not taking that. And even her, in her instance, she does not want to do this. You're putting her in a weird position, and I really like how when she goes in to talk to her husband, in a sense, she kind of whispered in his ear to help out, to send men, to send something. That is something that I really liked and dug, is how that conversation went. And of course, then Viserys and Rhaenyra have one of the most important conversations in this entire show so far, where they are mending and getting everything out in the open, where it's been 3-4 years and they've been strained. But now they have this conversation where she goes, I wasn't happy. You say that I need to do this, but you did not do that. You married my friend. I didn't like that. I feel like now you have the heir. You're just trying to send me off. And Viserys sees from her point of view, what's the problem? And he's open with her. I was thinking about it. But I swear on your mother's grave, I'm not going to. You deserve the heir. And now I don't know all the lore to Game of Thrones completely when it comes down to this age. I know stuff from the books, of course, like the actual books that kind of lead in. But I'm very much not fully invested completely. I'm watching this show as very much a newbie, as you can say, a novice. And I like that because I don't know where this is going. But I loved this episode, and I love that. And I got emotional during that. And that takes a lot. This is only episode 3. We've only had 3 hours of these characters so far. And I feel like I've been a lifetime with them. So that's again, I'm very impressed with the writing in there. Leading in next, though, the finale of this episode is more of that war. Pretty much, they're losing. And they blame Daemon, which I can totally see. Because when Daemon came in, that guy's like, yes, you're saving. Stomps right on him with the dragon. So obviously Daemon's just out of control, animal style, killing everyone. Does not give a shit. But man, did it work. Man, did it hit the guts. Did it hit my gut feelings? When, King Viserys sends a note to his brother. And he does not take that. He does not want his brother's help. Smashes in that dude's head, says, I'm going to go in there. Wheels in, gets the crab out, and he just goes absolutely berserk. does not care if he dies in this moment. And Matt Smith owns this moment. He is phenomenal. Badass, and the action in here was just brutal. I loved it. And it leads in. All of this war's going. The dragon shows up, saves him, and, Daemon runs straight for this Crab King guy and guts him. Pulls out half his body. Mangled and distraught, blood all over him. And the episode just ends there. The war might be over, but I love that. I love where this entire season is kind of going, where everything is kind of positioning and very much in a faster pace. And again, I'm very interested and excited for the rest of the season, but each episode I go in, try not to get my hopes up because I'm worried on how this anthology is going to work, how the anthology storyline, how this time skipping is going to work, because they set it up from the start, how this is going to go, how the pacing is going to move, and I like it. But I do wish we had more times with these characters. And I already knowing the fact that we're not going to get more Millie Alcock really disappoints me. Now, all credit might be due. The next actress could be just as incredible. But I'm a little bit biased right now. I'm so in love with these performances from every actor involved right now. I don't want anyone switched out. So overall, I loved episode 3. This is hands down my favorite when you include anything Game of Thrones. This is my favorite Game of Thrones episode since season 6 of Game of Thrones. That is saying a whole hell of a lot, because season 7 had some decent episodes, and season 8, had some decent moments too, depending on who you are, but this show has absolutely won me back into the Game of Thrones fandom. I am absolutely in love with it. So overall, guys, let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. Thank you so much again for watching this. Hit that like and subscribe button, and of course, until next time, stay classy.